Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and this is one of my non-player characters in a video. And this is for the path. This is actually for any fantasy role-playing game setting, and so this is a player character I am playing right now. The player character is actually being played in a Pathfinder game, which is very nice. I'm really enjoying it, and the character is up to 4th level. And so it's really a very enjoyable game. And so the player character, which I'm going to now package up as a non-player character for you to use in your videos, is Xenoph and Thrindleburr. It's actually 2 characters, and you'll see why in a moment. So he is an O-Reed wizard, right? And so O-Reeds are stone-based. So if you're running another fantasy role-playing game, any stone-based like a Goliath or any stone-based humanoid can be used, to emulate Xenoph. So Xenoph is the main character, and Xenoph is an O-Reed wizard, arcane wizard. So he has the normal standard set of arcane wizard spells. But what makes him unusual, and I try to make all my player characters unusual in one way or another, is Thrindleburr. So Thrindleburr is his familiar, right? So since Xenoph is an O-Reed, that means he came from the mountains, right? He literally comes from stone, right? And so so basically Thrindleburr, or actually Xenoph, he comes from the mountains, and his familiar is a goat, a mountain goat, which he met up in the mountains, right? So Thrindleburr is really, in my opinion, he's the heart of this player character, right? So Thrindleburr is the goat that that Xenoph adventures with, right? So what's unusual about Xenoph is that actually, so Xenoph has a very unusual take on the world, right? So he really likes spending time with his familiar. He's very close with his familiar, and so Thrindleburr, his goat, is actually, in the eyes of Xenoph, Thrindleburr is an adventurer, right? And so Xenoph sees his task in life to travel with the adventurer Thrindleburr, the mountain goat, right? And so he believes that this mountain goat, which is a normal mountain goat, but is also a familiar, is at heart an adventurer, right? And so Thrindleburr does not have any magical powers. He's just a goat, right? Now, Thrindleburr has been raised by Xenoph, and so he actually does a headbutt attack. He uses the straight mountain goat, goat attack, which is a gore attack, right? And it does 1d4, right? So whenever we're in dungeons, we actually, what will happen is Thrindleburr will actually physically attack whatever monster that we're dealing with, and Xenoph will also attack that same monster with his magic to try to take that monster down, right? And so basically, this is a high-level arcane wizard. Actually, I'm sorry, this is an arcane wizard. He's at 4th level now. Actually, he's not high level at all. He's an arcane wizard, right? And he has this familiar Thrindleburr, the goat, right? But when he introduces himself, Xenoph, the arcane wizard, says, "This is the noble adventurer Thrindleburr," and then he points at his goat, right? And Thrindleburr puts his head up and he kind of shakes his horns, and and he's used to this, right? And so he does, and Thrindleburr has actually come to believe this, the animal, that he is a noble adventurer, and so he does. He attacks all the time, right? And what's interesting is, and then Xenoph will say, "This is Thrindleburr, the noble adventurer," and he'll point to his goat, and then he'll say, "And I am his humble servant, Xenoph." He doesn't mention that he's an arcane wizard, right? So, and this is the way this rolls, right? And so now he's in a party, and and everybody understands that Thrindleburr is a major part of Xenoph, right? And so Xenoph, really adventures to serve Thrindleburr, this goat, right? So one of the things that's really interesting about this is it's 4th level. The goat always attacks whatever creature we have up there. And I'm always fascinated by this. I think I get away with a lot with my player characters because the DMs like the characters, And so I've been waiting for this goat to get killed, right? He's just a regular goat, right? But one of the things that's nice is we have a fighter in the group. So basically, when we fight monsters, we have a fighter player character that just goes up and starts slaying whatever we're dealing with. So that monster almost always attacks. They'll attack the fighter, right? And so they don't really attack Thrindleburr. And Thrindleburr's up there dealing 1d4 damage, and so it's not that big a deal, right? And so, but Thrindleburr has remained alive. And I'm always curious, is the DM avoiding hitting Thrindleburr because he just likes the flavor of the character? I think I get away with a lot based on that. Like a lot of times people will keep, my characters alive because they like the play, that I haven't min-maxed and I'm running it for story, which is kind of interesting. And so a lot of times my characters, I think, it will attack less just because they're more interesting. I could be completely wrong about that. But I'm often amazed that the characters I make live as long as they do because they're not min-maxed. They're not built for build. They're built for story, which means they're always the weakest character in any group, right? But often they're one of the more interesting characters, right? Now I actually run with a great Pathfinder group where the players that I play with, they're pretty good at min-maxing, right? At maxing out their characters according to the rules that are in the books, and also bring forward a pretty strong story as well. And I'm always trying to actually, one of the reasons why my characters are not min-maxed is I play so many games, I read so many tabletop role-playing games, right? So I've read through all the Pathfinder books, but I haven't read them 3, 4, 5 times each. I haven't gone through every single minuscule detail to pull power into a single character, right? And so I'll build my character, and I'll actually run that character, and I'll do everything I can to I'll do the things I can to make that character as maximized as possible. But like right now, a good example, I'm in a Pathfinder game, right? I'm reading Numenera, I'm reading Warhammer, the Warhammer 40K rulebook, I'm reading Space Marines, I'm reading House of Glass, and 50 other things. So the other players in my game are more, they're good at focusing on that one thing. And so they bring really strong story, and they bring really strong maximized characters, right? So it's really kind of interesting. But Xenoph and Thrindleburr. Xenoph is the arcane, O-Reed, stone-based wizard, right? He's a humanoid. And Thrindleburr is his goat, right? And they travel together, and Thrindleburr is the noble adventurer, and Xenoph is his humble servant. And so these guys are pretty unusual, and it seems like it's really, and one of the things that's great is I come up with these ideas, and then I put them into a tabletop role-playing game. And that's the wonderful thing about tabletop role-playing games is you have all these intelligent reading people bringing together story ideas, and the characters just really grow to life. Not just through your own ideas, but through their interactions with the other players. And so Xenoph and Thrindleburr have really grown into characters I am really having a wonderful time playing, really like a lot, right? So we played through a story arc. One of the things that was really interesting was we played through a story arc recently with Thrindleburr and Xenoph, and there was a Kitsune in the group. There was a human rogue, half-elf rogue in the group, and we had a Strix in the group. Really, really interesting, a Strix, right? And and there was some other characters in there as well, and we just got to a break point. And one of the nice things is we are using the different books for Pathfinder, and I got to use the Ultimate Campaign book. And one of the greatest things in that book is downtime, right? So we just had a 3-month in-game break where we had 3 months, after we essentially we actually cleared out all the monsters from this cursed, desecrated dwarven mine, and actually the player characters are now restoring this dwarven mine, right? Which is really kind of fun, really interesting. And so I thought this was really kind of interesting with Xenoph and Thrindleburr. So Xenoph and Thrindleburr, weakest player characters on the board by far, right? But I feel one of the richest story story-wise. And so what's interesting is we had this 3-month break in game, and it was a 1-month break in out of game in real time, right? And so one of the things that was interesting is we broke for the Christmas holiday, right? And so now we're going back, right? And so all these other characters that were much more powerful than Thrindleburr, that actually are able to do much more damage, the players are actually scrapping those characters. They're setting them aside and starting new characters in the new time. And so one of the things I think is interesting, and now one, that's probably not all their fault. Pathfinder is such a fantastic game that really there's a meta game. There's a game of creating a new character, right? You know, which you really get to sit down. You're surrounded by literally 7 different books. You're creating these, these fantastic characters out of the books that are existent. And so there's always this beckoning call to make a new character. And our Dungeon Master doesn't really punish people for starting a new character. I don't even think he makes it cost them a level. They can just bring in new characters at a new level, which is cool with me. I'm all right with that. But I'm keeping Xenoph and Thrindleburr, and those two are going to continue on as we continue the adventures with the Pathfinder adventure. So really kind of interesting that the other player characters are actually 2 of the 4 are actually going to. We have 5. I'm sorry. So at least 2 of the 5 are going to wrap up their old characters and kind of set them aside and start up new characters. And 3 are going to. 2 are still waiting, and I am definitely keeping Xenoph and Thrindleburr. And so I'm really excited to see what adventures they have next. And really super fun. And so I'm hoping that that Xenoph and Thrindleburr are useful to you as non-player characters. By the way, they are good aligned. If you use them, please make sure they're good aligned. Of course, you have freedom to do whatever you wish with them, but I think at heart, Thrindleburr and Xenoph are they're heroes. Almost all the player characters I create are heroes, and so that was their original intent. So thank you very much.